Welcome everyone to a deeply important conversation today. Today, I want to gently give you something that absolutely nobody ever gave me. I did not receive this highly valuable knowledge in school. I absolutely did not get it in college, and I never found it safely, written in books. It is a clear system, a powerful weapon, and the complete blueprint for your life. Because when I was feeling completely lost in this massive world, when I had huge dreams inside my heavy head but absolutely no clear path laying in front of me, and when I woke up every single day with burning ambition but tragically ended the day with crushing regret, I constantly kept asking myself one single desperate question. I anxiously asked myself, how do I actually truly achieve something meaningful in my life? I desperately wanted to know how to do vastly more than just talk endlessly about it, not just quietly dream about it in my sleep, and absolutely not just stand on the sidelines and watch other successful people do it. I truly wanted to actually do it, to proudly achieve it, to physically build it from the ground up, and to genuinely live it every single day. But the highly frustrating reality was that the chaotic world absolutely never handed me a clear manual for success. All that society ever casually said to me was to simply be patient, work very hard, and stay highly motivated. But tragically, absolutely nobody ever told me exactly what I should do with my own complex brain, exactly what I should actively do with my precious daily hours, what to do when I inevitably failed miserably, or exactly what to do when I completely stopped believing in myself anymore. So feeling completely tired of endless waiting and deep confusion, I bravely decided to simply figure it all out entirely by myself. And exactly what I eventually discovered completely changed absolutely everything for me, because I deeply realized that there actually is a clear, reliable system. There genuinely is a proven, step-by-step path to true success. And today, I will generously and openly share that exact path directly with you. If you carefully and patiently follow these specific steps, you will absolutely be able to achieve anything your heart desires. I honestly do not care exactly where you are currently starting from today. Whether you are currently poor, feeling completely broken, starting very late in life, feeling heavily rejected, deeply tired, or feeling completely alone, your current starting point absolutely does not matter. What truly matters right now is that you finally take this incredibly seriously. You must actively apply this powerful system exactly like your entire life heavily depends on it, because one day the profound truth is that it absolutely will. This beautiful, transformative journey is also completely perfect for your daily English listening practice. So please comfortably stay with me and listen closely. And if you are currently new here to our community, please make sure to warmly subscribe to our channel. Let us begin with step 1. You absolutely must deeply understand the profound neuroscience of human achievement, which means you must actively reprogram your highly complex brain first. Long before you ever try to do absolutely anything out there in the vast external outside world, you must first completely understand exactly what is currently happening deeply inside your own brain. The terrifying but undeniable truth is that your brain is absolutely not naturally designed to automatically make you highly successful. Instead, your primal brain is completely designed for one specific purpose: to keep you perfectly, comfortably safe. It desperately wants to keep you completely safe from any painful failure, safely hidden from public embarrassment, highly secure from physical or emotional discomfort, and totally safe from absolutely anything that ever feels incredibly new or deeply scary. So the exact, precise moment you bravely try to actually change your current life, the moment you attempt to start a brand new business, learn a highly difficult new skill, bravely speak up for yourself, take a massive risk, or simply move forward, your protective brain aggressively shouts, "Wait, stop right there. This unfamiliar path feels incredibly dangerous." And immediately, it forcefully sends you heavy waves of paralyzing fear, deep inner doubt, heavy laziness, and crushing anxiety, and tragically you completely believe every single word of it. You falsely begin to think that something is terribly, fundamentally wrong with you, but the beautiful truth is that absolutely nothing is wrong with you at all. It is simply your biological brain actively doing its natural evolutionary job to fiercely protect the highly comfortable, old version of you. Therefore, if you genuinely and truly want to actively achieve absolutely anything meaningful in this life, you must actively Learn exactly how to successfully reprogram your stubborn brain. But exactly how do you beautifully do this? Let me carefully explain it to you in a highly simple, understandable way. Your complex brain fundamentally works exactly like a highly efficient machine. It simply and constantly repeats exactly what you consistently feed it every single day. Absolutely every single thought you actively think is a clear electrical signal. Every single repeated habit you blindly follow is a strict, undeniable command to your nervous system. And absolutely every single heavy emotion you deeply feel is simply a direct, predictable result of your very own past behavioral patterns. So, if you have unfortunately spent the entire last 5 long years constantly thinking to yourself, "I simply cannot do this," then your highly adaptable brain has literally, physically wired that toxic, limiting belief deeply into your entire nervous system. But please listen carefully, because here is the incredibly beautiful, life-changing good news. Absolutely whatever was physically wired into your brain can definitely and beautifully be actively rewired right back out, and that exact realization is precisely where your massive, unstoppable power finally begins. Just deeply think for a moment of a specific person who desperately wants to become physically fit, but they have absolutely never, ever exercised before in their entire life. They constantly and comfortably say to themselves, "I am simply just not the athletic gym type. I am naturally lazy, and I am completely not disciplined." That is absolutely not the real truth. That is simply the conditioned brain loudly speaking directly from its comfortable past patterns. But right now, if that exact same hesitant person bravely forces their own self to simply walk outside for just 10 quiet minutes every single morning, even when it feels incredibly hard, and even when it feels painfully boring, something profound and miraculous slowly starts to deeply change completely inside them. On day 1, the confused brain loudly complains and asks, "Why in the world are we suddenly doing this difficult thing?" On day 3, it stubbornly and aggressively still resists the new effort. But by day 7, the walk miraculously becomes slightly, noticeably easier. By day 14, the daily routine beautifully becomes highly familiar to the nervous system. And by day 21, that exact same difficult action beautifully becomes an undeniable, permanent part of exactly who they truly are. Please understand that this beautiful transformation is absolutely not fleeting motivation. That profound change is called neuroplasticity, which is your brilliant brain's natural, biological ability to actively, completely rewire its own physical self based entirely on your new, consistent actions. This is absolutely proven, undeniable science. This is incredibly real, and this is the absolute fundamental key to your entire future. Because tragically, most ordinary people sit around endlessly waiting for a magical wave of motivation to finally arrive, but true, highly successful achievers absolutely never wait. They actively and fiercely train their own brain exactly like a disciplined, fierce soldier rigorously trains their physical body for battle. They bravely do the highly necessary, incredibly small actions daily, even on the dark days when they absolutely do not feel like doing it at all. And through that relentless repetition, the physical brain slowly and undeniably learns, "This is exactly who I am now." That specific, quiet repetition is exactly how you truly become highly consistent. That is exactly how you beautifully become genuinely confident. That is exactly how you miraculously become incredibly powerful in this world. It is absolutely not achieved merely by thinking differently, but entirely by actively doing things completely differently. Until your physical brain is forced to actually follow your new actions, you will absolutely never achieve anything meaningful. You must deeply understand that your complex brain must be strictly and patiently trained exactly like a heavy muscle, exactly like a new skill, and exactly like a daily habit. And that profound, life-changing training absolutely does not ever come from simply passively watching more motivational videos online. It exclusively comes from bravely doing incredibly small, highly focused actions every single day, even on the exact days when your exhausted brain loudly screams, "No," because that brave, difficult moment of resistance is the exact beautiful moment that real, lasting change finally begins. Let us now deeply and carefully explore step 2. You must absolutely decide exactly what you really want, and you must fiercely write it down until it physically hurts. Tragically, most ordinary people completely fail and absolutely never achieve anything meaningful simply because they absolutely never make a firm, undeniable decision. Instead, they passively live their entire lives trapped in a heavy fog of complete confusion. They casually wake up every morning and vaguely say to themselves, "I really want a good life." They endlessly say, "I deeply want massive success," and they constantly say, "I truly want genuine happiness." But the terrifying reality is that their physical brain absolutely hears nothing at all from those vague wishes, because incredibly vague, weak goals naturally and automatically create incredibly weak, highly ineffective actions. Your brilliant brain simply cannot ever work properly with complete confusion. It absolutely only functions efficiently with crystal clear clarity. If you absolutely do not clearly and firmly decide exactly what you truly want, your powerful brain has absolutely no clear direction to follow. And exactly when the brain has absolutely no clear direction, it automatically and instantly chooses to retreat into familiar comfort. That is exactly why so many frustrated people tragically stay completely stuck in the exact same place for many long years. It is absolutely not because they naturally lack incredible talent or bred intelligence, but entirely because they simply never bravely chose a very clear, specific destination. Please always remember this profound truth: human life beautifully and consistently rewards the highly decided, but it completely ignores the deeply confused. Casually deciding absolutely does not mean weakly saying, "I deeply hope I want to be rich someday," or "I vaguely want to be more confident," or "I hope for a much better future." That specific weak language is simply passive dreaming, and endlessly dreaming completely without a firm decision is actually incredibly dangerous because it artificially makes you feel highly comfortable. A true powerful decision beautifully means aggressively saying exactly this: "I absolutely want this specific thing by this exact specific time, absolutely no matter what happens." For a clear example, you must confidently say, "I want to actively build a highly strong, intensely disciplined physical body in the exact next 12 months," or "I actively want to completely create a highly valuable skill that easily pays me completely independently," or "I firmly want to completely and beautifully transform my entire life completely before this current year finally ends." This profound, undeniable level of extreme clarity beautifully does something incredibly powerful directly to your physical brain. Exactly when your specific goal is incredibly clear, your powerful brain beautifully starts actively filtering millions of pieces of daily information. Your highly focused brain miraculously starts actively noticing highly valuable opportunities that you were previously completely blind to. Your brain beautifully starts forcefully pushing you completely forward every single day. But if your specific goal remains terribly unclear, your brain instantly relaxes. Your brain comfortably delays your progress, and your brain actively seeks to escape into cheap distractions. Now, here is the absolute most incredibly important, unshakable rule of this specific step: you absolutely must forcefully write your clear goal completely down. You must absolutely not just write it down only once, and absolutely not just write it down sometimes when you magically feel motivated, but you must write it down absolutely every single day of your life. Why is the physical act of writing so incredibly important? Because writing is absolutely not a cheap temporary motivation trick. The physical act of writing is a strict, undeniable command directly to your incredibly powerful subconscious mind. When you fiercely write something down again and again and again, your brain finally wakes up and says, "This specific thing must be incredibly important. This must be extremely serious. This must be exactly who I am actively becoming." Imagine two completely different people. Person A lazily keeps their big goal only floating around inside their messy head. Person B fiercely and beautifully writes their specific goal down absolutely every single morning and absolutely every single night. Person A tragically forgets their mission the moment life gets hard. Person B beautifully and constantly remembers. Person A helplessly reacts to whatever life blindly throws at them. Person B powerfully and intentionally controls their own forward direction. Over a long period of time, Person B beautifully becomes incredibly dangerous and completely unstoppable because their daily written goal beautifully and permanently becomes their core identity. And your core identity completely controls absolutely all of your daily behavior. Let me softly say this profound truth very, very clearly. You will absolutely never, ever outperform the specific inner image that you currently hold of yourself. Exactly when you physically write your clear goal down daily, you are slowly and beautifully upgrading your entire self-image from the inside out. You completely stop weakly thinking, I deeply hope I can do this, and you beautifully start confidently thinking, this is exactly who I am actively becoming. That one single quiet mental shift alone can beautifully change your entire life forever. So please, exactly today, absolutely do not overthink it, do not tragically delay it, and do not endlessly overanalyze it. Firmly sit down, boldly take a physical pen, and fiercely write exactly what you truly want. Use incredibly simple words, perfectly clear words, and brutally honest words. And then bravely write it all over again tomorrow, and again, until your powerful brain has absolutely no other option but to aggressively move you directly toward it. That is a true decision. That is profound power. And that is exactly how real achievement beautifully begins. Let us now beautifully transition to step 3. You must meticulously track your daily inputs, meaning you must actively record your daily actions, absolutely not your distant dreams. This highly specific, critical step completely separates the weak wishers from the highly successful achievers. Most ordinary people tragically only ever track their final outcomes. They constantly and anxiously ask themselves, am I highly successful yet? Did I finally win yet? Did my difficult life miraculously change yet? And exactly when the honest answer is a painful no, they instantly and tragically quit completely. But true unstoppable winners absolutely do not ever track outcomes. They meticulously track their daily inputs. Because the undeniable truth is that you absolutely cannot directly control your final results, but you absolutely can perfectly control your daily actions. And your specific daily actions, when beautifully repeated every single day, completely control your final results absolutely automatically. Imagine a highly dedicated, hardworking farmer. He absolutely does not wake up every single day and frantically dig up the hard ground just to anxiously check if his tiny crops are visibly growing yet. He absolutely does not angrily shout at the silent soil. He absolutely does not completely panic and quit after only 3 short days of waiting. So, exactly what does he actively do instead? He beautifully and patiently waters the dry soil. He carefully removes the destructive weeds. He fiercely protects the precious land. Absolutely every single day, he purely tracks exactly what he actively puts into the ground, absolutely not what instantly comes out of it. And then, one beautiful day, the magnificent crop miraculously appears. It absolutely does not appear by cheap magic, but purely by relentless, beautiful consistency. Your precious life beautifully works in the exact same profound way. If you obsessively only look at your final results, you will constantly feel terribly frustrated, deeply hopeless, and highly impatient. But if you fiercely track your daily inputs, you will instantly feel completely controlled, deeply calm, and incredibly powerful. So what exactly are these vital inputs? Inputs are simply the incredibly small daily actions that successfully move you completely forward. It is the quiet hours actively spent learning, the highly focused time spent practicing, the heavy effort spent building, and the quiet discipline beautifully shown exactly when absolutely nobody else is watching you. You must completely stop anxiously asking, did I massively succeed today? Instead, you must bravely start asking yourself, did I simply do my required work today? Did I bravely show up? Did I actively practice? Did I successfully move just one single step forward? If the honest answer is yes, then that specific day is a beautiful, undeniable win. This incredibly profound mindset completely destroys daily anxiety because now your personal happiness is absolutely not conditionally tied to distant outcomes. It is beautifully and securely tied to your daily effort. And your honest effort is absolutely always completely in your own control. You absolutely must physically record your daily inputs and fiercely write them completely down daily. You do this absolutely not to falsely impress anyone else, and absolutely not to boastfully post online for likes, but entirely to build deep, unshakable respect for your very own self. Because exactly when you physically see the undeniable proof of your daily effort clearly written on paper, your Highly logical brain finally says, I am incredibly serious, I am absolutely not lazy, I am constantly moving completely forward. And that undeniable daily proof beautifully builds massive confidence. It builds real, authentic confidence. It builds silent, unshakable confidence. Most ordinary people constantly feel incredibly weak simply because they have absolutely no physical evidence of their own effort. But you will beautifully feel incredibly strong simply because you will actively see that undeniable evidence every single day. Incredibly small, quiet actions, written down daily, beautifully become massive, undeniable confidence over a long period of time. One beautiful day, you will look far back and profoundly realize, I absolutely did not miraculously change overnight. I beautifully changed simply because I bravely showed up every single day. That is exactly how truly magnificent lives are built. They are built highly quietly, incredibly slowly, and profoundly powerfully. Let us profoundly transition into step 4. You must actively and intentionally use your precious 24 hours in the exact right way. You see, the profound concept of time is absolutely not completely equal for absolutely everyone in the way we falsely think. The absolute truth is that you naturally have exactly 24 hours. I have exactly 24 hours. An incredibly wealthy billionaire has exactly 24 hours, and a completely homeless man has exactly 24 hours every single day. A highly successful professional athlete, a world-famous scientist, a deeply tired mother working 2 difficult jobs, and a young student starting with absolutely nothing, they all perfectly share the exact same 24 hours. So, what exactly is the profound difference that completely separates them? Why does one specific person beautifully build an incredible life of massive impact, deep wealth, profound strength, and unshakable confidence, while another specific person tragically just sits, watches, endlessly scrolls, bitterly complains, and helplessly waits? The honest, undeniable answer is absolutely not blind luck. It is absolutely not a naturally high IQ, and it is definitely not a magical opportunity safely handed to them. The profound answer is simply this: highly successful people beautifully use their precious time exactly like it is deeply sacred. Other ordinary people tragically use their daily time exactly like it is completely cheap and entirely disposable. Most exhausted people in this world absolutely do not tragically lose their precious life to natural death. They quietly and sadly lose their entire life to endless distraction. And that constant heavy distraction is absolutely the massive, terrifying disease of our modern generation. They blindly wake up early in the morning and instantly grab their glowing phone. They tragically spend many long, valuable hours mindlessly watching the heavily filtered lives of completely different people. They quickly reply to endless trivial messages that mean absolutely nothing to their actual future. They entirely waste their incredibly powerful mind heavily focusing on cheap content that absolutely does not matter at all. And then at the very quiet end of the day, they helplessly say, I simply did not have enough time today. But that terrible, comforting lie will tragically cost you your entire beautiful life. This is simply because your precious time is the absolute one thing in this entire universe that you absolutely never, ever get back. You absolutely cannot buy back one single second, not one lost hour, and definitely not one wasted year. Exactly when it is gone, it means it is completely gone forever. If you genuinely and truly want to actively achieve absolutely anything meaningful, you must fiercely treat your 24 hours exactly like a highly strategic battlefield. Let me beautifully and carefully show you exactly how to do this. You must actively and firmly split your entire day into 4 very specific, distinct zones. Zone 1 is your sacred build time. This is exactly the quiet period when you actively build your biggest dream, build your own business, deeply learn your highly valuable skill completely, transform your physical body, and profoundly strengthen your powerful mind. This is absolutely your most sacred time. It absolutely should be fiercely protected exactly as if your very life heavily depends on it. During this sacred block, there should be absolutely no cheap distractions, absolutely no chaotic multitasking, and absolutely no outside noise. If absolutely all you do is simply spend 2 to 4 highly focused hours every single day safely inside this specific zone, and you beautifully do it with relentless consistency, your entire life will completely change infinitely faster than you ever possibly imagined. Next is Zone 2, which is your vital learn time. This is exactly when you actively and intentionally feed your hungry brain. You must quietly read, deeply study, carefully watch highly educational lectures, and deeply analyze valuable information. This is absolutely not for cheap entertainment, and it is definitely not for toxic drama. It is strictly for real, profound education and deep self-education. Because the profound truth is that formal school absolutely does not ever teach you exactly how to successfully build a beautiful, meaningful life. You absolutely have to bravely take the heavy responsibility to actively teach yourself just one single quiet hour a day, actively spent beautifully learning high-level critical thinking, profound emotional control, unshakable mindset, smart finance, or deep productivity will change everything. That one single, incredibly powerful hour completely separates you far from 99% of the entire world over a long period of time. Then we have Zone 3, which is your necessary maintain time. These are simply your normal daily human responsibilities. This includes your regular job, caring for your loving family, cleaning your physical space, and your daily commuting. These are absolutely necessary daily tasks. You must beautifully do them very well, but you absolutely must not ever let them completely consume your entire precious day. You must actively keep them highly efficient and keep them deeply focused. Absolutely do not ever carelessly stretch a very simple 1-hour task completely into 4 long hours of heavy chaos and distraction. Finally, we tragically have Zone 4, which is exactly your kill time. This is exactly the dark, dangerous place where your biggest, most beautiful dreams quietly die. This dark zone includes mindless screen scrolling, endless binge watching, deeply toxic gossip, and heavy procrastination cleverly disguised as, "I just desperately need to relax." This is absolutely the dangerous enemy zone. You absolutely do not need to miraculously eliminate this zone completely 100%. But you absolutely must fiercely control it with massive, unshakable discipline. Because the much more precious time you carelessly spend inside this specific zone, the significantly less of your beautiful future actually remains. Now, let us be completely and brutally real. You will naturally have unexpected distractions. You will constantly face loud noise, and you will inevitably feel incredibly tired. But if you can deeply understand this one single profound truth, your entire life completely changes forever. True success is absolutely not ever just about simply having massive amounts of free time. It is entirely and beautifully about exactly what you actively choose to do directly inside that specific time. If you absolutely only have 2 very short, free hours a day, and you fiercely use them to deeply learn, actively build, continuously grow, and relentlessly repeat, you will miraculously become completely unstoppable. But if you comfortably have 10 massive hours and you tragically use them only to mindlessly scroll, passively wish, endlessly talk, and bitterly complain, absolutely nothing in your life will ever change. You must physically write completely down your entire 24-hour daily schedule. Fiercely remove all highly unnecessary toxic time killers. You must beautifully design your very own day exactly like a highly efficient system. You must fiercely stick to it exactly like a brave warrior going into battle. Constantly track it, actively improve it, and beautifully master it. Because your precious time is genuinely your daily battlefield, and absolutely every single passing hour is either a highly powerful weapon or a very deep, painful wound. The ultimate choice is absolutely yours to boldly decide. Let us now deeply and carefully explore Step 5. You absolutely must protect your precious focus exactly like a fierce lion intensely protects its newborn cubs. Let me honestly tell you something that might initially hurt your feelings right at first, but it is a profound truth that will ultimately and completely save your entire life. Your highly valuable focus is actively and constantly being completely stolen from you right now, every single day. It is being aggressively stolen by your glowing phone, by your endless apps, by constant notifications, by other people's highly negative opinions, by toxic news, by useless gossip, by chaotic noise, and by absolute garbage. And tragically, you do absolutely not even clearly realize that it is actively happening. Please deeply understand this. You are absolutely not a naturally lazy person, and you are definitely not stupid at all. You are simply and terribly distracted. And right here is exactly the profound part that most ordinary people absolutely never, ever understand. True, deep focus is absolutely not about having superior natural intelligence. True focus is entirely and beautifully about fierce protection. You absolutely must actively learn exactly how to fiercely protect your precious focus, exactly like a brave lion mother deeply protects its highly vulnerable cubs. Imagine for a quiet moment a fierce lion mother resting with her 3 tiny newborn cubs. If a highly dangerous poisonous snake suddenly comes incredibly near to them, exactly what does she bravely do? She absolutely does not hesitate. She aggressively attacks, she fiercely roars out loud, and she bravely risks absolutely everything. Why does she beautifully do this? Simply because those precious tiny cubs are completely and undeniably her entire future. Now, I need you to deeply think of your own daily focus in that exact same profound way. Your deep daily focus is absolutely your entire future, too. If you casually and carelessly let cheap distractions get incredibly close to your mind, they will silently and completely kill your beautiful future while you are tragically just sitting there happily smiling at your glowing phone screen. That is exactly how incredibly brutal and deeply serious this reality truly is. Every single time you constantly switch between different tasks, your complex brain absolutely requires highly valuable time just to painfully readjust itself. Even a very short, seemingly harmless distraction, exactly like a quick mindless scroll, a very quick text message, or watching a very quick, useless video, violently cuts your deep focus, completely weakens your natural workflow, and actively reduces your actual cognitive intelligence. Modern neuroscience completely and undeniably proves this exact fact. The incredible human brain was absolutely never ever built to naturally multitask. Chaotic multitasking completely and systematically destroys your profound depth, your mental clarity, your natural creativity, and your precious memory. And exactly what do you tragically lose when you constantly lose all of those vital things? You lose absolutely everything. You entirely lose your powerful forward momentum, you completely lose your deep inner belief, and you painfully lose your incredibly precious time. And eventually, sadly, you completely lose your biggest, most beautiful dream. So, exactly how do you successfully and beautifully protect your highly valuable focus? First, you must bravely create a daily unbreakable deep work block. This is a strict minimum of one single uninterrupted hour, where absolutely nothing external is ever allowed to forcefully enter your private world. There must be absolutely no glowing phone, absolutely no buzzing messages, absolutely no demanding people, and absolutely no chaotic sound. There is absolutely only your deeply important mission. This one single, incredibly powerful habit can miraculously multiply your daily productivity vastly more than absolutely anything else. You must intentionally use airplane mode hours. Actively pick exactly 2 to 4 quiet hours daily where your distracting phone is firmly put on airplane mode or safely locked far away in completely another room. This incredibly brave action beautifully and physically rewires your entire nervous system to completely stop desperately needing cheap dopamine hits. You will undeniably feel deep, uncomfortable emotional pain exactly at very first, but very soon you will beautifully and profoundly feel immense peace, unshakable power, and crystal clear clarity. Furthermore, you must fiercely remove highly low-quality people from your daily life. You absolutely cannot ever successfully stay deeply focused if you are constantly and endlessly surrounded by heavy drama, loud noise, and toxic negativity. You absolutely do not ever need 20 fake shallow friends. What you truly desperately need is profound silence, deep peace, and a crystal clear vision. Fiercely remove those specific people who constantly distract you with their very own heavy confusion. Next, you must beautifully build a reliable focus trigger. Actively choose one specific, simple physical habit that clearly tells your brilliant brain that it is exactly time to deeply focus right now. This can beautifully be gently lighting a warm candle, firmly putting on noise-canceling headphones, quietly closing your physical door, or intentionally opening your private notebook. After just a few short days of pure consistency, your highly adaptable brain will automatically and beautifully associate that exact specific trigger directly with profound, deep work. Finally, Actively keep a dedicated distraction list safely beside you. Absolutely every single time you are deeply working and a completely random thought suddenly enters your busy mind, like telling yourself, you must check this, reply to that specific person, or do this other task, do not act on it. Instead, fiercely write it completely down directly on a physical piece of paper, absolutely not inside your distracting phone. Just quietly write it down and instantly return directly to your important work. You can comfortably and safely deal with it exactly after the deep session is completely over. The chaotic outside world absolutely does not ever care exactly how deeply focused you are, but your very own beautiful future absolutely does care deeply. And if you absolutely do not fiercely protect your precious focus right now today, one highly painful day you will look far back, tragically realize that you actually had absolutely all the incredible potential in the world. But you foolishly let your highly valuable attention be cheaply sold for absolutely nothing. True, profound focus is absolutely not just a simple skill. It is a highly powerful, fierce defense system, and exactly today you absolutely must boldly activate it. Let us now beautifully transition into step 6. You must deeply understand that belief is absolutely not just a fleeting feeling. It is a profound skill that you must rigorously train every single day. Tragically, many exhausted people constantly say to themselves, I simply cannot do this difficult thing because I absolutely do not believe in myself. They casually say it exactly as if true belief is merely a magical feeling that must miraculously appear out of thin air. They falsely think that exactly like a fairy tale, one beautiful day you will simply wake up from sleep and suddenly, effortlessly believe that you are incredibly capable, deeply worthy, and vastly powerful. But that beautiful fantasy absolutely never ever happens in reality, simply because genuine belief absolutely does not softly fall completely from the sky. It absolutely does not ever come from blind luck, and it definitely does not come from cheap, temporary motivation. It is an undeniable, highly trainable skill. It is a profound skill that absolutely must be carefully built, rigorously trained, and fiercely earned through hard work. And if you absolutely do not actively train it, you will tragically always feel incredibly small, deeply weak, and terribly unsure of your own self. Just quietly imagine a tiny, brave child actively learning exactly how to walk for the very first time. He absolutely does not sit and wait until he magically feels perfectly ready. He simply bravely tries, he painfully falls down, and he instantly gets right back up again. Absolutely every single fall is deeply painful, yes, but exactly after enough brave tries, something truly magical naturally happens. His incredibly brilliant brain finally learns and confidently says, I can actually do this. That exact beautiful realization is exactly where true belief actually comes from. It absolutely does not come before the hard action, but purely and beautifully after the repeated action. Now deeply imagine someone who desperately wants to become highly confident in public speaking. They foolishly say to themselves, I will finally speak in public only exactly once I magically believe I am perfectly good enough. But that perfect day absolutely never ever comes because they are tragically waiting for belief instead of actively building that belief. Now, let us beautifully flip that exact scenario completely around. A highly brave second person honestly says, I absolutely do not feel confident right now, but I will bravely speak directly in front of 2 people anyway. The very first time they try, they terribly stutter. The second time, their hands uncontrollably shake. But by the third time, they beautifully realize they actually survived. By the remarkable 10th time, they actually start to genuinely enjoy the experience. And by the 50th time, they proudly look far back and confidently declare, I truly believe in myself. Now you must clearly understand that this profound belief was absolutely not a cheap gift, and it was definitely not a random feeling. It was the beautiful, hard-earned reward strictly for bravely doing exactly what most ordinary people carefully avoid. You absolutely do not ever need belief to actually begin. What you truly need is unshakable discipline just to begin, and the profound belief will beautifully and naturally follow. So exactly how do you successfully build this vital belief exactly like a highly trained skill? Here is your incredibly powerful 5-step formula. 1. Bravely take incredibly small actions that deeply scare you. Absolutely do not recklessly jump straight into a massive fire, but intentionally do something that beautifully stretches your comfort zone, like bravely speaking up exactly when you feel incredibly shy. Actively start that difficult project even when you are completely not ready. Boldly post that new video. Bravely try that risky business, and beautifully begin writing that huge book. You must do it even if you feel massive, heavy doubt. 2. Actively create undeniable evidence every single day, because every single action you bravely take is physical evidence to your logical brain that says, I am incredibly serious. It screams, I am actively becoming this new person, and I am bravely doing exactly what others deeply fear, and this undeniable evidence slowly and beautifully changes your entire self-image. 3. Fiercely speak to your own self with immense power. You must completely stop weakly saying, I deeply hope, I can, and bravely start firmly saying, I am actively training and I am beautifully becoming. Remind yourself, I am absolutely not done yet, because your highly sensitive brain constantly listens to your own inner voice vastly more than absolutely anyone else's voice. 4. Beautifully and proudly celebrate incredibly small progress. Exactly after every single tiny win, you must intentionally pause and proudly say, that was exactly me. I bravely did that, and that is undeniable proof. This beautiful habit completely rewires your complex mind to successfully see daily success as completely normal, absolutely not as something incredibly rare. 5. Relentlessly repeat this entire beautiful process absolutely until that hard-earned belief permanently becomes your true identity. There will miraculously come a beautiful moment, absolutely, not in just one single day, and definitely not in one short week, but in due time, where your highly trained brain will confidently say, this is exactly who I am now. And exactly when that beautiful, profound moment finally comes, you will completely stop anxiously asking, can I actually do it? And you will powerfully start boldly saying, let's absolutely do it. So please completely stop endlessly waiting for belief, because it is absolutely not magically hiding somewhere out there. It is beautifully and quietly built deep in the shadows, exactly one small action, one brave repetition, and one incredibly courageous moment at a time. If you bravely take forward action absolutely every single day, even when it is incredibly small, heavily messy, or deeply uncomfortable, your profound belief will beautifully grow silently, exactly like a tiny seed safely planted under the dark soil. And one beautiful, sunny day, it will miraculously burst completely through the hard surface, exactly as immense power, crystal clarity, and completely unshakable confidence. Let us now beautifully and deeply transition into step 7. You must bravely repeat boring things absolutely until they become incredibly powerful. This specific, quiet step is exactly where most ordinary people tragically fail. And it is absolutely not because the task itself is impossibly hard, but simply because it feels incredibly boring. They always start out incredibly strong. They get highly motivated, and they deeply feel a burning fire inside their heart. But then day 5 suddenly feels terribly dull and weak. 2 feels painfully slow. By month 3, the entire process feels endlessly repetitive, and tragically, they completely stop. Absolutely not because they cannot actually do it, but entirely because they have deeply misunderstood the profound truth about success. The undeniable reality is that true success is absolutely not constantly exciting. It is definitely not loud. And it is absolutely not made of bright magical fireworks. Instead, it is beautifully made entirely of highly quiet, deeply repetitive, and seemingly boring actions that are consistently done with immense intensity, unshakable focus, and profound love. In fact, the feeling of boring is actually your absolute best friend. If you can bravely and beautifully make deep peace with feeling bored, you will absolutely win in this difficult life. For a very clear example, deeply imagine a person who desperately wants to get physically fit. They excitedly go to the gym, and on day 1, their natural energy is incredibly high. On day 3, their tired muscles are deeply sore. And by day 7, they look for results and see absolutely none. By day 14, they stare into the exact same mirror, see absolutely no change, and they completely stop. However, another highly dedicated person goes to the exact same gym, actively does the exact same grueling workouts, feels the exact same heavy soreness, and experiences the exact same agonizingly slow results, but they bravely return and return and return again. They absolutely do not ever complain, and they definitely do not expect cheap magic. They simply and quietly repeat the incredibly boring process again and again and again. And then, one beautiful day, something miraculous completely changes. The mirror clearly shows brand new muscle, their active mind feels significantly sharper, and their daily energy is infinitely stronger. And absolutely everyone around them amazed asks, "What exactly is your magical secret?" But the profound truth is that there is absolutely no hidden secret. There is absolutely only the relentless repetition of exactly what looks completely boring to the outside world, but is actually actively building immense, unshakable power deeply inside you. Do you desperately want to completely master public speaking? You must bravely speak again and again, carefully record yourself, critically watch it, actively improve, and relentlessly repeat it even though it feels incredibly boring. But one beautiful day, you will proudly speak exactly like a fierce lion. Or perhaps you deeply want to build a highly successful business. You will absolutely have to diligently do the exact same marketing, send the exact same emails, and build the exact same systems again and again, absolutely, until it beautifully becomes effortless second nature. You absolutely want to deeply learn unshakable discipline. You must wake up early, physically write your clear goals down, strictly follow your positive habits, and meticulously track your daily actions absolutely every single day. You must bravely do this even on the exact heavy days when you absolutely do not feel like it. That is exactly the profound difference, because average, ordinary people constantly chase fleeting motivation. True achievers, however, relentlessly repeat highly boring actions absolutely until they beautifully become incredibly powerful. So here is your exact step-by-step system. Actively identify the specific boring thing that actually builds your beautiful future. Whether it is heavily working out, quietly writing, intensely studying, endlessly cold calling, or relentlessly practicing and repeating, you absolutely must not ever avoid it. You must bravely own it completely. You must fiercely create a dedicated time block directly for it every single day, and you absolutely must not negotiate with yourself. You must not delay it. You must simply just do it and beautifully attach profound meaning directly to it. You must firmly tell yourself, this specific task may be completely boring to everyone else, but to me, it is deeply sacred. This is exactly what will beautifully build the incredible life they can absolutely only dream of. You must meticulously track your daily streaks, and you absolutely must not ever break the powerful chain, because absolutely each and every single day you do it, your brilliant brain undeniably becomes significantly stronger. You must beautifully and completely fall deeply in love exactly with the profound feeling of simply showing up, absolutely not just obsessing over the final result, simply because the grand result will naturally come much later. But the true, undeniable victory is beautifully found directly in the quiet act of showing up. Relentless repetition is the true language of incredible greatness, and profound boredom is the exact, beautiful doorway to true mastery. So please, absolutely do not ever run far away from what is boring. Bravely run directly toward it, warmly smile right at it, and relentlessly repeat it. Because exactly while all the other ordinary people are desperately chasing cheap, instant excitement, you will be quietly building immense, unshakable power, and one beautiful day they will all watch you magnificently rise and deeply wonder exactly how you actually did it. But you will quietly and beautifully know the profound truth. You simply and bravely did exactly what they could not do, because you beautifully repeated boring things absolutely until they miraculously became completely extraordinary. Let us now profoundly and beautifully transition into step 8. You must actively and meticulously track your personal progress exactly like a highly disciplined scientist. You must completely stop blindly guessing about your life and finally start genuinely winning. Tragically, most ordinary people carelessly walk through their entire precious life completely blind. They undeniably work incredibly hard every single day, but they tragically do absolutely not know exactly what is actually working for them. They desperately try many completely different things, but they completely lack the clear understanding of exactly what to actually improve. They constantly and bitterly complain, saying, "I am simply not improving at all," but the painful truth is they have absolutely zero physical proof of exactly where they initially started. That profound lack of evidence is exactly why they constantly feel so incredibly and deeply lost. And that is exactly why the highly dedicated individuals who beautifully track their daily progress, even in incredibly small and beautifully simple ways, absolutely win vastly faster. This is simply because blind guesswork is absolute, heavy chaos, but meticulous tracking is profound, crystal clear clarity. Let me honestly tell you something incredibly profound that very few people in this world truly understand. True success is absolutely not just about sheer, exhausting effort. Genuine success is deeply about highly accurate feedback. It is about undeniable data. It is about brutal truth, and it is entirely about precise measurement. Because if you absolutely cannot clearly see exactly where you are actively going, how will you ever possibly know if you are finally getting close to your beautiful destination? If you absolutely do not actively measure your daily progress, you will tragically always feel completely stuck, even exactly when you are actually moving beautifully forward, and that false feeling of being stuck completely kills your vital motivation. Deeply imagine two completely different people who are actively going to the gym to completely change their physical bodies. Person A simply looks into the mirror absolutely every single day. They hopelessly say, "I look exactly the same. I am completely wasting my precious time." And tragically, they instantly quit. However, person B meticulously and carefully tracks their exact daily reps. They physically write completely down their heavy weights. They bravely take progress photos exactly every 2 short weeks, and they beautifully measure their unshakable strength. Absolutely not just their mere physical appearance, and beautifully. Exactly after 30 dedicated days, they clearly see the undeniable data staring right back at them. They realize they are actively lifting significantly more. Their daily energy is vastly up, and their profound discipline is beautifully building. And that undeniable physical proof beautifully gives them immense, unstoppable power. That is exactly how incredibly successful people beautifully become highly consistent. Absolutely not through fleeting cheap emotion, but entirely through undeniable hard evidence. Let us say you're actively building a highly successful business. You must absolutely not just passively say, "I deeply hope it is magically growing." You must actively track it. Exactly how many specific people did you bravely message today? Exactly how many difficult sales calls did you actually make? Exactly how many positive responses did you successfully get? Exactly what perfectly worked and exactly what completely failed. That profound awareness is exactly how you beautifully improve. Or, let us closely say you are actively trying to bravely speak much more confidently. You should beautifully record your own voice just once a week. Carefully play it back and critically compare it directly to last month. You must actively see the clear improvement, and you must clearly hear the undeniable progress. That is exactly how deep, unshakable belief is physically built. Because exactly when you can clearly see your own undeniable progress, you absolutely no longer ever need cheap motivation. You are beautifully and powerfully driven entirely by the undeniable truth. Let me beautifully give this profound process directly to you in 5 highly powerful, clear steps. 1. You must perfectly define exactly what you are actively building. You absolutely must be completely, perfectly clear on exactly what you are relentlessly working toward, whether it is deep physical fitness, a highly valuable skill, a massive business, an unbreakable mindset, a beautiful new language, or unshakable discipline. You simply cannot ever magically measure exactly what you absolutely do not clearly define. 2. You must actively break it completely down into highly trackable daily actions. You must boldly ask yourself, exactly what are the highly specific inputs that actually matter? If you deeply want to get physically fit, you must meticulously track your daily workouts, your healthy meals, your clean water, and your deep Sleep. If you desperately want to vastly grow your income, you must meticulously track your active calls, your bold offers, your new leads, and your successful conversions. If you truly want to become infinitely more deeply focused, track your quiet, deep work hours, the specific distractions you successfully avoided, and the brilliant books you actually read. 3. You absolutely must write it completely down every single day. You must absolutely not ever blindly trust your fragile memory, because your memory is highly emotional, but hard data is completely and brutally honest. You must beautifully create a simple habit tracker, a deeply personal journal, a clear calendar, a massive wall chart, or absolutely anything physical. Because exactly when you physically see your undeniable effort clearly sitting right in front of you, your highly logical brain miraculously starts to deeply respect you. 4. You must meticulously review your precious data every single week. You must actively learn from it, carefully adjust it, and deeply look directly at your hard numbers. Exactly where are you beautifully winning? Exactly where are you tragically wasting your precious time? Exactly what specific actions should you boldly double down on, and exactly what toxic things should you completely remove? This profound reflection is exactly how you continuously improve with unbelievable deadly precision. 5. You must beautifully and proudly celebrate your profound progress. You must celebrate it even if it is incredibly small. Because if you are beautifully getting just 1% better every single day, that absolutely becomes massive over a long period of time. Just one extra quiet hour of deep focus, just one more grueling workout, just one more brave conversation. You must meticulously track it, beautifully celebrate it, and relentlessly repeat it. If you can actively measure it, you can beautifully improve it. If you foolishly ignore it, you will absolutely and tragically lose it. Your massive goals absolutely do not ever need vastly more raw emotion. They desperately need vastly more deep awareness, much more quiet reflection, and profound, unshakable clarity. Meticulously tracking your daily progress exactly like a brilliant scientist completely removes the heavy, dark fog directly from your beautiful path. It clearly and undeniably tells you exactly where you currently are, exactly what you must actively do next, and exactly why you are beautifully winning, even on the difficult days when the final results feel painfully slow. Most ordinary people will absolutely never ever do this simply because it is absolutely not wildly exciting, it is definitely not loud, and it is absolutely not magically instant. But this exact quiet discipline is exactly how true, unbreakable champions are beautifully built. So today, you must actively build your highly reliable tracking system and beautifully let the entire confused world helplessly guess, because you will. Powerfully and quietly move completely with undeniable proof. Let us now beautifully and profoundly transition into step 9. You absolutely must not tell everyone your big plan. Instead, you must actively build in complete silence and powerfully show your undeniable strength. Have you ever excitedly told someone your incredibly big dream, and tragically, instead of receiving warm support, you sadly got heavy doubt, or even worse, cold silence? You bravely say to them, "I am going to completely change my life. I am actively starting this new business. I am completely transforming my physical body, and I'm relentlessly chasing this massive dream." And tragically, ordinary people just laugh directly at you, or they carelessly give you unsolicited advice you absolutely did not ever ask for, or they painfully remind you of absolutely all your past failures, and very slowly, your beautiful burning fire miraculously starts to tragically shrink. This happens absolutely, not because your precious dream was inherently weak, but simply because you foolishly shared it vastly too soon. There is profound, unshakable power in complete silence, and there is terrible, destructive danger in actively talking vastly too much, way too early. Let us go incredibly deep into the psychology of exactly why this happens. Absolutely every single time you proudly speak your big dream out loud, your complex brain instantly gives you a cheap, unearned dopamine reward. It falsely feels incredibly good, and it falsely feels exactly like you are making real progress. It feels exactly like something massive is actually happening. But the terrifying truth is that absolutely nothing is actually happening, because you are merely talking, absolutely not actively building. You are proudly announcing, absolutely not actively acting. And that deceptive, comfortable feeling of, I have already successfully started, can completely and tragically kill your real, honest effort. Because now, tragically, instead of bravely showing up daily and doing the grueling work, you desperately start chasing cheap praise, external approval, massive attention, and fake validation. The vastly more people who actually know about your precious plan, the vastly more heavy pressure you deeply feel, the vastly more dark fear you instantly feel, and the incredibly more confused you ultimately become. This happens simply because now their highly negative opinions are completely trapped safely inside your very own head. That is exactly how beautiful dreams tragically die quietly. So, exactly what is the profound solution to this terrible trap? You must actively learn the beautiful art of private progress. You must build silently, study quietly, and fiercely train deep in the dark shadows, actively letting your profound improvements loudly speak completely for you. You must beautifully let your daily actions do absolutely all the heavy talking and bravely let your undeniable success make the final, massive announcement, because that is true, unshakable power. Deeply think of a tiny, fragile seed safely buried deep underground. It beautifully grows in complete, profound silence, with absolutely no loud noise and absolutely no external attention. And then, one beautiful day, it miraculously breaks the hard surface, and the entire world clearly sees something incredibly strong, deeply beautiful, and completely unshakable. That is exactly your beautiful process. You must beautifully let your precious goals be deeply sacred, let your fierce discipline be completely private, and let your incredible journey be entirely yours. You absolutely do not ever need to endlessly tell people exactly what you are currently doing. You desperately need to undeniably show them exactly what you have already done. So only tell your own self. You must fiercely write your grand plans safely inside your private journal. Quietly speak it in deep prayer and tightly keep it incredibly close, directly to your beating heart. But absolutely do not prematurely give it to the chaotic world vastly too early. You must fiercely protect it, beautifully feed it, and actively grow it. And exactly when the magnificent results are completely and brutally undeniable, you absolutely won't ever need to say anything at all. They will be forced to ask, exactly how did you miraculously do it? And you will simply and beautifully smile, because you already know the profound answer. You absolutely didn't just endlessly talk about it. You relentlessly and beautifully worked on it absolutely every single day. Let us beautifully and profoundly arrive at our final ultimate step, step 10. You absolutely must become the strict, loving teacher of your very own mind. You must completely and undeniably become absolutely unstoppable directly from the deep inside. You beautifully do this, absolutely not just for mere worldly success, but profoundly for your own daily survival, for unshakable inner strength, for deep, emotional peace, and for miraculously becoming completely unbreakable in a chaotic world that constantly and aggressively tries to break you. Your entire precious human life is completely and entirely controlled by that quiet, constant voice echoing deep inside your own head. And if you absolutely do not actively and fiercely train that specific inner voice, it will tragically and silently completely destroy you from the inside out. Absolutely every single physical action you bravely take, every difficult decision you cowardly avoid, every dark fear you blindly listen to, and every cheap excuse you foolishly believe purely comes directly from that exact, hidden inner voice. And tragically, for the vast majority of ordinary people, that powerful inner voice is absolutely not a supportive, wise teacher. Instead, it is a cruel, relentless bully, and it is incredibly toxic and deeply negative. It is heavily fearful, it is profoundly weak, and it constantly whispers, "You are simply not good enough. You absolutely always tragically fail. Everyone else is vastly better than you, so why even bother to bravely try? Just safely stay perfectly comfortable exactly where you are." And simply because they absolutely never are brave enough to question that toxic voice, they blindly and helplessly obey it. That is exactly the profound reason why most ordinary people tragically live incredibly small, unfulfilled lives, absolutely not because they naturally lack incredible ability, but purely because they absolutely never actively learned exactly how to masterfully lead their own powerful mind. If you genuinely and truly want to beautifully, achieve absolutely anything in this world, you absolutely must boldly become the strong, guiding teacher and absolutely not the helpless, weak victim of your own mind. This beautifully and profoundly means exactly this. You absolutely do not ever blindly believe every single fleeting thought you naturally think. You absolutely do not passively obey every single heavy emotion you feel. And you absolutely do not ever let dark fear comfortably decide your beautiful future. You must actively observe, carefully correct, and relentlessly retrain your complex mind every single day. Exactly like a strict but incredibly loving teacher carefully trains a young student, you must understand that your untrained mind is exactly like a dangerous wild horse. If you absolutely do not actively train it, it will violently and helplessly drag you absolutely wherever it recklessly wants, deeply into dark fear, heavily into thick laziness, terribly into endless distraction, and painfully into crushing regret. But exactly if you beautifully and patiently train it with immense discipline, relentless repetition, and profound awareness, that exact same wild horse will powerfully and gracefully carry you absolutely anywhere you ever deeply want to go. That is exactly what true mental mastery is. Every single passing day, your active mind automatically creates thousands upon thousands of fleeting thoughts, and the vast majority of them are completely automatic, heavily based entirely on your painful past, based deeply on primal fear, and based entirely on basic human survival. If you absolutely do not actively and bravely intervene right now, your beautiful future tragically becomes an exact, painful replay of your difficult past. So you absolutely must actively learn profound mental leadership. You must constantly and bravely ask yourself, is this specific thought actively beautifully helping me? Or is it deeply hurting me? Is this heavy fear actually incredibly real, or is it entirely falsely imagined? Is this comfortable excuse actually actively protecting me, or is it terribly limiting my entire life? And exactly when that specific thought is undeniably weak, you absolutely must firmly correct it. You must correct it absolutely not highly emotionally, and definitely not violently angrily, but incredibly, deeply, calmly. Exactly like a highly patient teacher gently correcting a confused student. Deeply imagine two completely different people bravely facing the exact same massive failure. They both completely fail an incredibly important grand goal. Person one's toxic mind aggressively says, "You tragically failed once again, you are completely useless, and this undeniably proves you absolutely cannot ever do it." Tragically, they blindly believe it, they instantly quit, and their entire beautiful life painfully shrinks. Person two's highly trained mind calmly and beautifully says, "That specific attempt absolutely didn't work. Let us actively analyze exactly why. Let us beautifully adjust, and let us bravely try again." They bravely and boldly act again. They beautifully and profoundly grow, and their incredible life massively expands. It is the exact same painful failure, but there is a completely different, wise teacher living deep inside the mind. And that one profound difference completely changes absolutely everything. This is absolutely not just cheap theoretical philosophy. This is a rigorous, unshakable daily practice. Here is your exact, powerful mental system. Actively catch the toxic thought. Absolutely whenever you deeply feel heavy fear, dark doubt, creeping laziness, or toxic negativity, you must instantly pause. Absolutely do not wildly react. Simply quietly observe. Calmly say to your own self, "This is absolutely just a passing thought. It is absolutely not an undeniable fact." That one tiny, brave realization alone beautifully creates massive emotional distance and unshakable inner power. Next, actively question the dark thought. Fiercely ask, is this completely 100% actually true? Is this actively and beautifully helping me successfully move forward? Would the absolute strongest, most incredible version of me ever believe this garbage? Most heavy negative thoughts instantly and miraculously collapse completely under that intense, brave questioning. Then actively replace the dark thought. You absolutely do not ever just leave the complex mind completely empty. You beautifully replace it. Change the toxic "I absolutely cannot do this" into the powerful "I am actively and beautifully learning exactly how to finally do this." Change the fearful "I am completely not ready" into the brave "I will beautifully get perfectly ready" simply by taking forward action. This is absolutely not fake, cheap positivity. This is brutal, unshakable mental discipline. Finally, fiercely reinforce it entirely with undeniable action. Your powerful mind completely and always listens to bold action vastly more than empty words. Exactly when you bravely act despite the heavy fear, your brilliant mind beautifully learns. Exactly when you stay fiercely disciplined, your highly adaptable mind beautifully adapts. Bold, undeniable action is exactly how you physically teach your stubborn mind. Exactly who is truly in absolute charge. And you must actively review yourself absolutely every single day. Every single quiet night, honestly ask yourself, exactly what did my powerful mind do today? Exactly where did it desperately try to cowardly escape, and exactly where did I bravely and successfully lead it? This profound, daily quiet reflection beautifully builds massive self-awareness. That deep awareness beautifully builds unshakable control, and that absolute control beautifully builds unstoppable power. Because exactly if you beautifully master this final step, you absolutely do not ever violently break under heavy pressure. You absolutely do not ever cowardly quit during painful failure, and you absolutely do not ever helplessly depend on cheap motivation. You absolutely do not ever deeply fear other people's highly negative opinions, and you absolutely do not ever completely lose yourself in the heavy, chaotic noise of the world. You miraculously become incredibly calm, deeply and crystal clear, intensely focused and dangerously, beautifully disciplined. You completely stop weakly saying, "I deeply hope my difficult life magically changes," and you powerfully start boldly saying, "I am actively and beautifully changing my entire life absolutely every single day. Absolutely everything you ever desperately want in this entire life: unshakable confidence, massive success, profound inner peace, deep discipline, and unshakable strength is safely waiting completely on the exact other side of profound mental leadership. It is absolutely not about cheap motivation. It is absolutely not about natural talent. And it is definitely not about blind luck. It is entirely about the fierce, unshakable leadership of your very own mind. If you can successfully and beautifully lead your own inner thoughts, you can powerfully lead your daily actions. If you can actively lead your daily actions, you can beautifully lead your lifelong habits. And exactly if you can lead your powerful habits, you can absolutely lead your entire, magnificent destiny. And exactly once you beautifully reach that profound level, absolutely no painful failure can ever stop you, and absolutely no toxic opinion can ever break you. Absolutely no heavy delay can ever defeat you, simply because you are absolutely no longer helplessly controlled by the chaotic outside world. You are beautifully and entirely controlled by deep purpose, by profound awareness, by massive discipline, and entirely by you. You absolutely now proudly have the complete, undeniable blueprint. It is absolutely not cheap motivation. It is absolutely not fake internet hype. And it is definitely not a temporary, fleeting fire. It is a profound, undeniable step-by-step system. Exactly if you beautifully and bravely follow these precise steps incredibly slowly, deeply, seriously, and absolutely daily, your entire precious life will absolutely not ever stay the exact same. One beautiful, sunny day, you will profoundly look far back directly at this exact old version of yourself, and you will feel incredibly, deeply proud. Because this was exactly the beautiful, magnificent day that you finally stopped helplessly reacting to your life and boldly, bravely started leading it. And that, my friends, is exactly how you beautifully and undeniably achieve absolutely anything in this world.